Welcome everybody to VISPRO here on the Vis desk. Thanks everybody for joining me. This is the pregame show as we kick off the spring season here at VIS. We got a lot of exciting matchups for you. We got a lot in store. And of course, joining me tonight, I have my co-caster, but it is for the very first time. It is Denomine. Man, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Dragonborn.
Oh, absolutely not a problem. As we get into some pretty exciting matchups today, we were talking about before we got live here today. We've been talking about it. I think a lot of people, when they saw the bracket go live, there's been a lot of talk. And of course, there's a lot of exciting news about these teams that we want to get into as well. So today's schedule is jam-packed with matches, and we're just going to get a taste of what they are here today. Starting off with the first matchup that we're going to be streaming. It is Misfits versus Necrolite, and this is exciting for a lot of reasons because these are the 8th and 9th seed. Necrolite is actually the 8th seed and Misfits the number 9th. And if you guys had seen last season's challengers, you'd understand why that seeding is, because Necrolite just absolutely spanked Misfits, and for a numerous number of reasons. And Day, I don't know if you got a chance to catch up and watch that match or if you've seen how it played out, but this is definitely going to be a pretty intense contested matchup because you can imagine Misfits looking to get a little bit of revenge.
Absolutely, and we have a lot of really good teams here in the tournament, so there should be a lot of really good games.
Yeah, we've got, let's look down the list here. Nova Esports versus Team Saints will be our second matchup. For everybody who maybe has been following Twitter, you know there was actually a pretty big announcement with Nova Esports. They picked up Lone Delphi, formerly of Echo Fox, and that's big in a lot of ways. One, you could, depending on who you talk to, could argue that Lone Delphi might have been a little bit underrated on that roster, maybe not playing at his best. So seeing him come to this already really hot roster day might be really exciting. I don't know if there's anything you're specifically on the lookout for when we look at this team.
Delphi, I definitely think, is a very strong jungler that may not have had the highest potential he could have with Echo Fox. But the roster swaps in general, to me, are really awesome because it allows teams to find synergy with other players, and they're not necessarily locked down to one team. So it'll be pretty cool to see how Delphi performs in this upcoming game.
Yeah, it really will be. And Team Saints actually have a pretty jam-packed roster. They've got a few people that were on some of those, the Silly Saints and a bunch of these guys. They actually played on a few rosters during last Challenger split, and they actually got a lot of success. So they were on in Team Enforcers near the end of last season split. So a lot of excitement there. We'll see how they play. I mean, I think Nova, with this new addition, I think they are arguably one of the hottest teams to come into here outside of those like top echelon teams. Nova Esports having a chance to make a name for themselves. Moving down the line, we do have Cloud9 versus Best Anime Girls. Now, this is one we were hoping to stream to you guys as our third match tonight. But due to scheduling conflicts with the teams, they did have to move theirs up, which means there's a small chance we'll be able to stream you game number 2 right after the Misfits Necrolite game. Otherwise, unfortunately, this will be happening off stream, but we'll definitely be giving you guys updates as we go along. You guys are not going to want to miss that. And then down to our third and final match. This is off stream. This was scheduled off stream, but this is the one everyone's been talking about. Day this is the newly acquired NRG going up against Intensity VG, and there's a lot of talk about this. NRG actually kind of restructuring their roster and going with a brand new set of guys who actually just got into the VG8, formerly known as Giraffes. Tell me a little bit about them, Day.
Giraffes in general has been performing really well, both through the Challenger Series and now coming into VIS Pro, so I expect a lot from them. But I do think that the lineup that Intensity brings should put them at a good matchup.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of great people on the Intensity matchup line. I mean, we're talking about just to look at a few, PvP Warrior, the Human Torch. These are guys that have been playing in the Challenger Series. They've had some intensity, but I think, one of the things that's kind of gone unnoticed is Giraffes. They 3-0'd their opponent when they got into the Vainglory 8 last challenge battles, and really, I think completely surprising everybody. That was like the one matchup nobody's thought would be so dominant, and they kind of came in shocking everybody. And now with this NRG brand, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this team, giving them the respect, and unfortunately we won't be able to show you those matches unless something crazy happens. So we'll have to be updating you on those results as well. But I'm really excited about seeing the new NRG. I'm going to call them the new NRG for at least a little bit. Lightning T, Juan Hernandez, and Bradley are arguably probably three of the best players that come through Challengers after the LibX and Tempo Storm rosters. These are definitely guys who they continue to show up time after time, actually getting in the top 5 the first split and then coming out there in the final split and really doing well. So that is our roundup today. We'll be talking a lot about actually the next matchups tomorrow at the end of the stream. Of course, there's a lot to talk about there, but we really want to get into these matchups and talk about the draft. So I actually think we're ready to get into these drafts here pretty soon. So let's actually take a look. I think we got the rosters up here as well to talk about this matchup. But we've talked about it a lot. The Misfits versus Necrolite. This is arguably going to be probably one of the most contested matchups today. Now, Misfits, a bunch of name changes here, and Day, I think you can speak to this as well. Demon was Exhale, went to a bunch of other names. Now he's back to Exhale. Unfortunately, just did that, not in time to update the graphics. And then Illust is, or is it Eco? I think now is, no, it's
Illust is X, yes.
Yeah, but they're going up against Necrolite. This is Standing Solo, Blair Kid, Riezgo, Crownzer. These guys were number 4 in the overall Challenger split, and the actually last Challengers were able to take games, if not series, off all the teams that actually went into the Vainglory 8. What do you think, man? Do you think this is going to be close, right?
This is definitely going to be a really good game. I remember watching Riesco back when he played with Xenotech, and I think he brings a lot to the table. Standing Solo has obviously always been a standout player also that just may not have found the right team to compete with. So it's going to be hard to say. I think Misfits brings a pretty strong roster, but I think that Necrolite definitely brings a punch to bring right to him. So.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that, we'll have to really see if Misfits have made the adjustments with the roster. They've only done name changes, right? They haven't made any splashy news. They haven't made anything kind of crazy like what we've seen from some of the other teams. So I think the real question is going to be, all right, is this the team to beat? Are they, the real deal? We'll have to see how Necrolite performs. And I actually think we're ready to get into the draft here. So let's jump right into it, Amine.
Alrighty, so we've got
the draft begins.
We've got Necrolite on A side and Misfits on B side.
Yeah, so Necrolite is the higher seed, coming in 8th seed. Not surprising considering how the competitive matches we've actually been able to see between Misfits and Necrolite have been. It looks like everybody is ready to go here, so I think we should be getting ready to get started here. We do need to get... Actually, we have to do a quick pause here, guys, as just a small, slight issue that we need to get fixed. Yeah, I gotta fix this real quick. All right, sweet. So we actually got to do a quick switch here, and Day, for if this is the first time you're using the Spectator Clay, we're gonna go into game number 2 here, so it shouldn't be too long. And let me know when you're in, and then we can jump right into the draft.
I got the draft client up.
All right. So make sure you click game number 2, and I think we should be ready to go.
The draft
there
begins.
We go.
There it is.
Yeah, there we go. So now we should be getting in, and the double ban draft. This is something that we've been hearing the competitive players talk about. They absolutely love it. So as we get right into it, Necrolite, man, quick banning the Finn out.
Finn definitely brings a lot of CC to the team, so it can be a very dangerous thing, especially to a lot of the popular lane picks right now. But the doubled ban in particular brings a lot more heroes to the table when we see a Lyra pickup on A side.
Yeah, just so you know, that Grumpjaw, that is kind of a pick against Necrolite. Necrolite did play Grumpjaw with a lot of success, carry Grumpjaw, but that was a while ago. We'll see how that plays out. Celeste comes on the board now. Day, we've been hearing Exhale talk about his Celeste play. Is this the game we're going to see it come out? Is this really all it's hyped up to be? I
really think Exhale plays a really strong jungle Celeste. So I really hope to see him do something with it. Having Finn off the table, who is normally pretty good into Celeste, being able to reposition her, get her a little closer to the enemy carries. That's a big ban off the table, so it should be a solid Celeste pick. And we have a Lance ban, who is another very popular roamer right now. So
yeah, as we watch this draft go through, the bans all done now, and to see a lot of roams taken out. I mean, Grumchuck could be played roam, so you could argue it almost was 4 roams. But interesting that Misfits is choosing not to go with that roam ban here at all. I mean, other than the Adagio ban, and they haven't picked a roamer yet. So going into bonus time, going to see what they're going to be picking up here. There's a lot on the board. They could go with the roam at this point, or could wait to pick that last. But I have to imagine you'd want to save your very last pick here for your jungler. Oh,
the Glaive pick here is actually a really good pick because you can flex Glaive into a roam position if you need to. So it kind of puts the other team on edge on where is this Glaive going to go? Do we need to counter it as a jungler, or is this going to be a roam pick we need to be considering?
Yeah, and I actually like it too because it takes it away from Necrolite, because that Celeste does have some weaknesses, and one of the weaknesses is if you can get past her core collapse, if you can get to the back line and get behind her, she ends up becoming much more exposed. Where she's strongest is where she can kind of, with a good front line, can kind of put a bunch of stars and punish you for getting out on top of her. But a Glaive has a tendency to kind of sneak past a lot of that because of his afterburn.
That's correct, and Glaive and Celeste synergize pretty well, with Glaive being able to dive to the back line and reposition. For example, we have the Vox picked here, and follow up with that core collapse to chain the stun. So we'll have to see how they play it out.
Absolutely. Definitely excited. The Vox, I'm kind of curious if this will be a standard weapon Vox, just because we've seen so many unique things from a lot of these teams. Taka comes out, so yeah, I have to imagine weapon Vox with that Crystal Taka.
Crystal Taka. Crystal Taka is definitely a strong pick into a Celeste. With her low health pool, he's allowed to get in and eliminate her pretty easily. So it's going to be a really tough thing for the roamer to keep the Taka with the Lance being banned. And we are going to see the jungle Glaive. So it'll be a jungle weapon Glaive with Celeste in the lane.
Yeah, and I actually really like that these weapon Glaives we've seen. Glaives kind of resurged onto the scene of late with just like the overall like strength of his builds, the fact that you can go that early burst or you can go more late game. There's just so many options to play, so it's always kind of exciting to see how different teams play it. And I'm actually pretty excited as well to see how I'm really excited to see how Misfits plays. I've actually been pretty disappointed with Misfits' this overall macro play. They draft somewhat well, but then they sometimes it's just going down and finishing games. Or getting kind of some of that early momentum, they've really struggled. So I really want to see an improvement there. And I think Necrolite will be the best example we're going to get going into the next season of how many improvements they've made, if they've been able to really focus on it.
The benefit I think Misfits has here is Celeste has a lot of poke potential against the short range that the enemy team has. So I think I want to lean towards Misfits here as far as the draft goes.
Yeah, I mean, Misfits, I think has a really good one, and I think it comes down to really what we've been talking about is how strong is this going to be here, this Celeste play, because we've been talking about improvements they could have been making, and one of the improvements that they could have been making was in fact the fact that we have seen Exhale specifically a lot of focus paid to the Celeste,
and it is going to be Exhale on Celeste, so we'll have to see if he can live up to his word.
Absolutely. As we get in, this is definitely going to be an exciting matchup, guys, as we look to jump right into game number 1. And no surprises on the purchasing. We talk a little bit, other than the fact that just, a lot of defense focus on by all the teams, actually. Every single member picking up one defensive item. So just definitely a little bit of respect here, and no team really feeling like they have a comp deck they can be overly aggressive right out the gate.
Well, we do see Misfits aggressing a little bit towards in the jungle, trying to get this mid camp, and
yeah,
we've got Necrolite just getting up to the lane, getting their farm, so we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, Vox go in looking to try to push a little bit here with Riezgo, and you see this a lot. Teams like to push with both the support and the hero if they can catch the laner down in the jungle for a few minutes. Exhale does take a little bit of damage there from both Lyra and the Vox as he waits for his support to come up from the jungle. They're going to get the healer treant, and this is going to give Zax a little bit extra gold and momentum here in the jungle. I actually find it interesting, if you don't go for the enemy treant and you instead just go for the center treant, the time you waste actually sometimes doesn't really put you in a good rotation spot. But of course, I think they did get enough gold here right now. Still a few hundred gold behind, but that's because they haven't cleared out their jungle.
Yeah, I'm more interested right now to see how this Lyra plays out into the Celeste. Lyra having a range to match the Celeste here in this early game until Celeste gets the overdrive on her Heliogenesis. There's going to be a lot of poke damage coming out from this Lyra, along with the sustain that she's going to allow her Vox to have.
Absolutely. Definitely kind of see how they kind of mesh back and forth as we get into it. Right now, standing solo in the jungle, just moving through. He's a little bit ahead. No, he's actually kind of like right neck and neck with Zax. So Zax giving some of that early farm definitely helped a little bit, but no major improvement there. But he's going to look to try to start up this healer mid-tree end here. And
he has Riezgo with him, so they should be able to get it pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a gank up in the lane. Zax jumps in, doesn't get anything. And that's something that you really want to see a lot of successful ganks if you're going to have a Celeste and a Glaive. And so a little disappointing to see they weren't able to pull that off.
Yeah, and we already got the Vox back up to full health. Riezgo coming up, putting that sigil down for him, and just getting back to farming now. It looks like we've got a little bit ahead on standing solo in the jungle now.
Oh, yeah, man. Zax is going to come in here a little bit surprised, wondering where his jungle went. Taka snuck right by him. That is going to put Zax behind by a decent amount. And, there was already a gold lead going in favor of standing solo and company. And now I think that Taka is going to be in a really good position after this next rotation.
Taka has a pretty easy time into Glaive in the early game jungle just due to his speed and his ability to go invis and heal up via the Kaku. So we're really going to have to see how the mid and late game play out is where Glaive really kind of evens off with the Taka.
Yeah, and how aggressive really that Glaive can be. We do see Zax, he does steal that tree and away as they're going to start applying pressure. All three members.
Rotating down?
Yeah, he rotates down, but unfortunately, Exhale had to go back. So Echo, he leads them away and is going to sacrifice himself. But giving Taka that first blood, huge mistake. This is going to really start to allow Taka to hit a nice mid-game spike.
If Taka takes a little bit of damage here, Zax may be able to either steal this treant and maybe pick up a kill, but now we have Lyra coming down, and standing solo does get the treant.
Oh, so. Yeah, doesn't get it. And with Riezgo coming down, yeah, I mean, Zax had to just completely get out of here, but look at that standing solo. He feels like he still can contest all of these treants here, does get another one, and he's going in onto the Glaive. He's going to have to finally back out because Exhale and Echo have rotated down. Riezgo really liked what he did. He stayed back, made sure he kept that vision on that tri-bush for standing solo so they wouldn't get caught out.
One thing I do want to point out about standing solo here is he's already been able to shop and get a couple items, whereas Glaive has not yet, and that's really allowed him to have this much aggression into the Glaive, knowing that he only has that weapon blade and the light armor.
Yeah, but it hasn't paid. I mean, it's paid off for him because what that means now is he's got almost a 10 CS lead over the Glaive, and so not shopping has actually cost him future items and building and potential. As we already see, he is starting to build out that weapon items. Looks like he's going to go right to a Sorrow Blade.
That's how it's looking. Into a double squishy comp, you can either go the Sorrow Blade or a Tension Bow build. As he's behind, he's definitely going to want to go into that Sorrow Blade build, though. And we have Exhale getting jumped in the lane.
Ooh,
and there's a good kill for standing solo. And the Fountain and the Sigil come out to save him, too.
Oh my goodness, and he couldn't complete the kill. Standing solo looking to go in again. Kind of gutsy, as he is going to have to back away here. Takes a little bit of damage, so the Sigils is going to come out to get him healed up here. Zax, man, he put everything he could into that and still couldn't get the kill, thanks to just how much heal is coming out of Necrolite. And I have to say, I do like the fact that, you know, you've got a decent amount of CC here on the side of Misfits, but, you know, it is so risky with that Celeste to go into that Taka, and you saw it right there. Standing Solo able to take advantage of a little bit of a misposition.
Yeah, one of the big things we're going to have to look out for from Misfits here is once that Gauntlet's online, it's really going to limit the movement that the Taka has. So that's going to be a key role for Echo or Misfits win condition here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to come online pretty soon. Arden is at level 5, so a little bit more longer here. Echo just hanging out here with Exhale. Oh, here comes the full onslaught of attack, and down goes Exhale. That's Celeste just too squishy already in the early part of the game. There's nothing that the Arden or the Glaive can do, and Fountain was wasted, unfortunately. Just too much burst thanks to that Sorrow Blade already built on Krausner. And, of course, Standing Solo, he has that Storm Crown, doesn't have the Aftershock yet, but already dealing a ton of damage.
I like the immediate response from him, too, to be able to rotate down, and he soloed that sentry and is going to get some of the jungle on his way out, too. So he gets the health tree on and a sigil to heal him back up, and it's going to put him pretty far ahead of this Glaive at this point.
Yeah, it's not looking good here. Misfits already down early, but they got a little bit of a late game comp. You know, there's definitely a lot of things that turn on as we get farther in the game. And of course, Celeste, she will start to do a ton of damage as we get farther and farther. So I think that, you know, they're still not really in deep trouble. Plus, there's no major objectives that have been taken off the board yet, Day. So I think that overall, when you just kind of look at how the game's progressing, it could be a lot worse considering how aggressive Necrolite has been.
That's correct, and we do have the weapon Vox too, which starts to come online right about now, and we have Celeste slowly getting there, but once she approaches that level 8, she's definitely going to take off, and that's a good kill on Standing Solo there.
Oh, nice combo with the Afterburn.
They might be able to get the Vox too.
Whew, that was so well played. Misfits has to be feeling great. They executed that to a T, and all started with just being able to lock down that Taka with those core collapse. We actually saw Exhale kind of struggle not landing those core collapses with the first 2 jumps, but Echo this time landed a perfect Vanguard, so there was really almost no damage dealt to the Celeste, and then over-aggressive by Standing Solo finally paid the price, and it is going to be a nice bump up here. Still down in gold, but Misfits having to feel good about executing that.
Yeah, the gold lead definitely came a little closer off of that. We're down to only about 2K. We were approaching 4. So it's definitely a good gold swing towards Misfits. We'll just have to see how they play through the rest of the game. If they could keep executing fights in that manner, I think they have a very good chance of taking down Necrolite this game.
Yeah, and we'll have to see it keep working on this. Already, Krausner, he's quite a bit ahead in CS, and actually probably most of this gold lead is coming from just the fact that, you know, Krausner is so far ahead. So, but Exhale, he can kind of sit tight as long as they get kills like that and are able to push down maybe an objective early. He can afford to be a little bit behind in last hitting in these creep scores here. Right now, there is vision on the Misfits, so they are just waiting in the mustache bush, looking to make a move, but there is actually a recall, and let's see, Necrolite, they could try to push here. Their minion wave's a little bit back, but they see an opportunity possibly. Actually, really props to Exhale there. Timed his recall perfectly, so this wave is finally pushing up as he comes back here, so there wasn't a lot that Necrolite could do in that time.
I'm really hoping to see some minion candies out to prevent some of these pushes. Once Celeste really gets her next item, which is going to be the Broken Myth, they're going to have a lot of pushing power on that turret and wave clear. So I think a smart thing for Necrolite would be carry 1 minion candy just to kind of help hold off the wave if something goes wrong. So.
Yeah, and you know, we actually saw a lot of minion candies being used during Unified Live Championship. It's actually just a nice back pocket thing because it's great for dealing with over-aggressiveness in jungle mid-game, and plus it allows you to do a little bit more control or have options for control as far as how this lane is going to be moving in case you need to push it a little bit harder here. But right now, you look at Exhale. He is finally level 8, so he's coming on here. He's got those full items or full points put into his Heliogenesis, so he's going to get a little extra range and a little extra damage, which I think is really going to help Misfits now as you lay farther and farther into this game. But we'll just have to see how they kind of play it. I think the biggest thing is, oh, Gauntlet comes out. Nice separation. There's a stun. Riezgo's going to drop. Solar Storm connects, and Krausner, he is going down. It's just Standing Solo alive. And the Taka does get out, but barely at the skin of his teeth because just like that, Misfits executing, again, this composition so perfectly.
And again, it all comes down to these gauntlets by Eco here. That was a perfect gauntlet that stunned up Riesco. The Taka was able to make it out, and he actually goes down. He actually does come back and go down.
What are you thinking, man?
Great plays by Misfits here.
Yeah,
the positioning in that last fight was just phenomenal. The extra range for Celeste, able to get that poke down despite being on the opposite side of the gauntlet, really helped clean up here. Perfect Solar Storm on all 3 of the enemies and a good core collapse to follow up the gauntlet stun.
Well, Exhale's made a point here. Don't mess with his Celeste. But I think the biggest thing was Standing Solo tried to prevent that turret from going down by jumping in, but he paid his life for it, and the turret went down anyways. And I feel like that was probably pretty misguided, because like right here, Necrolite could, if they had all 3 men, could probably take advantage of this push, as Exhale kind of had an untimely recall, but they're not able to do much with it. Taka is down. He's looking to try to get this gold mine, which really sneaky little cheeky play here. I'm going to be curious if Misfits catches it.
A little bit of miscommunication there, but it ends up working out for him anyway with a good Solar Storm to clean up. I noticed Exhale went back up to clear some wave, could have got the core collapse down, but again, he perfect ult, cleaned up the fight, and we're going to see Standing Solo try to come in and do something about it.
Zax goes a little too far. He's got to watch it as we see Standing Solo looking to try to make him pay. Nice block. The core collapse doesn't land. Might have been out of range, but now Misfits, as they starting to get really low. Oh! Exhale with
the range we were talking about, too, off of the Heliogenesis, and that's going to be Standing Solo going down.
Oh my goodness, just overextension here. Eco might drop. He's getting pretty low here, and you see Kreuzner coming in. He does catch Exhale out. So
that
Exhale,
damage from the Vox cleans up the Celeste.
Oh man, so kind of crazy back and forth there. I think a lot of respect to that Celeste, as you just saw it right there as he's coming online. He has his broken abyss, so he is packing a huge punch. But yeah, Kreuzner clearly now with the Sorrow Blade and Breaking Point, you need to be extra careful with. So they're going to have to definitely be focusing down that Vox quickly in these fights as he's starting to come online. But just like that, you know, we actually talk about gold. It's still a gold lead for Necrolite, but they just seem to be struggling with executing, and Misfits has been able to make all of the initiated plays.
I'm almost not sure if it's bad execution by Necrolite as much as it is very good play by Eco here. It's Eco here, sorry. The gauntlets have been perfect. Every single gauntlet, he's been able to stun somebody up where they were able to follow up and get the kill, and that's given them a lot of influence in these fights.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see as the Vox comes online how that might change a little bit, but because we did see when Exhale does get caught out, he's so squishy still. He still drops very quickly, and especially until he gets that Aegis and is able to build maybe some armor, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. We do take a look down in the jungle. All 6 members of both teams, they are here. Look at the shop. Eco and Zax are going to get into the shop here. Necrolite, I think, want to shop, or at least they're keeping an eye to see what happens with Misfits. Misfits going to rotate back up, so Necrolite is going to follow.
We see a lot of respect shown to the Celeste here. We have Taka and Vox both already have their Aegis built, so definitely showing respect to the damage that Exhale is able to put out right now.
Yeah, but that priority on shield, it might have meant that they're not focusing on that armor. And the glaive, he does have Poison Shiv, he's got the Sorrow Blade, and he's got an infusion, so he also will be kind of, and he'll be tankier too. He'll be able to deal a lot of damage in the next team fight. This is going to be another Treant, another mid-Treant going over, going over to Misfits, as they are slowly creeping back into this. They are now only down by 1.7 thousand gold. I know that still seems like a decent amount, but they were down by over 2,000 not that long ago.
That's correct, and we're going to start to see the armor come out here from the Taka and the Vox. The Taka will most likely build into an Atlas Pauldron to try to give Zax a little bit of trouble here on this glaive. But we'll just have to see how these fights get played out. We have Standing Solo jumping in on Celeste real quick there.
There's a nice Solar Storm as they try to dodge out all of that Resonance. Standing Solo gets caught back, but look at that. Zax does catch up onto the Vox, takes the Vox down. This is what we talked about just like a few seconds ago, is you're building all this defense for the Celeste, but you're not worried about the glaive. If he gets on you, he is going to be very hard. There's another kill as Zax does almost go down, but he and Eco are able to finish it off as Celeste gets the kill, and it's just Standing Solo left here. And this is so far been all about how Misfits has just out team fought Necrolite here, even though they have been down in gold the entire game.
Yeah, there was a really good point in that fight where Glaive had the Vox separated and he took the portal back into a heliogenesis that was exploding, and Exhale got the cleanup kill there. Just Misfits has really been showing perfect positioning in these fights.
They really have, and just execution also, they've been confident, even when they were down by almost 3,000, very confident that they could go into a fight and execute it perfectly. So I think that really plays into their strengths as a team here going into this next season, and a lot of smiles have to be on Exhale right now as they're looking to try to get this game under control. Now, the only thing I'll mention is they've kind of run into, as far as an objective game, a roadblock here. Not a lot has happened. Decent amount of farming, but they're still behind in gold, and they've not been able to successfully push down this second turret. So, you're going to have to see that. We're going to have to wait, maybe work around their next team fight. This could be it here, Day, as we're looking to go in. There is Standing Solo. They want the turret, but here comes the gauntlet. It does trap all three of them in. No stuns, though, as they look to try to take down...
2 stuns!
Oh, yeah. Oh, I take that back. Right, 2 stuns afterwards. They are going to get the Vox. Oh, wait. I take that back. The Vox is not going to go down.
Crowns are pulling off some damage there on the Glaive, and he's going to secure the kill.
What a turnaround for Necrolite. I think a huge mistake to not follow up that Vox kill. He's going to be able to come back into this fight, and yeah, the Celeste can pack a punch, but if she gets jumped on, she's going to go down. The stun does miss. Crosshair is able to get away. There's a kill. He's still alive. Exhale's trying to do it. He's doing it.
The beautiful Celeste plays. The heliogenesises are right on target almost every time.
Oh my goodness, and yeah, that should have been Necrolite's fight after the Glaive went down, but Exhale turning it back around and showing everybody, yeah, you don't want to mess with him. Definitely expect a Celeste ban maybe next game. I don't expect him to get it again, unless they first pick it, because they are on B-side game 1.
That is correct, and we finally see the Atlas Pauldron coming online for Taka, and Taka is one of the greatest heroes for delivering that Atlas to the enemy carry, because you can spend that wind-up time using your ult, and as soon as you get there, you get that Atlas off. It's really hard to block if you're not paying complete attention to where the Taka is.
Absolutely. Riezgo doing a little bit of vision control here, trying to keep an eye on where all the scout traps are, laid down some of his own. So nobody with contraptions yet. I do think Eco might be building towards a contraption now, though, which I actually really love. I mean, contraption's such a versatile support unit over the last few meta variations, and I really expect that, if you've been paying attention to how most people play almost all the supports, you'll see contraption becoming more and more popular. So he might be making that decision. As we come down here, Exhale, he is down in the shop, going to be able to just nicely put a little heliogenesis there for vision and keep an eye. There's another flare as well, and Misfits not committing to the fight here, but definitely feeling comfortable with their rotation.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we don't see Misfits prioritizing as much vision despite there being a Taka is that heliogenesis allows them vision into bush, which it's a wonderful skill, that utility skill that Celeste brings to the table, and it saves the roamer a lot of gold on flares.
Yeah. It's definitely something that, we haven't seen a lot of Celeste over the last few metas, as weapon lane has been very de facto, but, you're seeing Exhale come in here. There is another engagement. They're going to disengage after the portal is engaged. Definitely a nice disengage by Necrolite, forcing Misfits back to their jungle. But a little bit of a standstill here. Standing Solo being cheeky here with the Kraken damage to maybe flare out Misfits to get them to commit to a fight. I think Necrolite feels like on their terms they could win the next fight. So they are trying to just keep close eyes, close watch on where Misfits is going.
I'm actually feeling pretty good for Misfits right now, having baited out that Lyra ult. That is a good tool that they can use to get in and out of the gauntlet. Also to form a hard engage and get that Atlas down on the Glaive. So we'll just have to see. The gauntlet, unfortunately, is wasted there, and not a single stun, and nobody really held in place by it.
And unfortunately, the Vox is breaking up those stacks. We'll have to see what happens. It's getting really close, but all members are still alive, but Zax is so low. He's the first to fall. Standing Solo is very low as well, but he's going to get the kill on this list. It's just Eco left, and Necrolite has finally won a fight. Going to get the ace. And they are going to get cracketed just like that. This game is going opposite of how Misfits had probably saw saw it for the first few minutes. This is not looking good. They're probably going to get the turret right now, as you see Krauser going to be pushing up this ace buff minion wave, and with the Kraken push, they could be very close to ending this.
One thing I want to point out from Necrolite here is they did a really good job in that last fight of separating the Glaive and the Celeste. The Vox was able to duel down the Glaive because he has that range advantage and mobility advantage. He has his Sonic Zoom up much more frequently than Glaive has his Afterburn. And that allowed Taka to just sit on Celeste. And Taka's really good into Celeste because once she drops that core collapse, you can use that chitin and block the stun. So,
yeah, absolutely. And so just like that, with just 3 turrets left and a Kraken pushing down, Necrolite, even after a pretty dismal mid-game, has started to crawl back into this. They've maintained a gold lead this entire time, and now they are winning team fights and taking objectives. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The biggest thing is Misfits needs to stick together in these fights. And when the Taka comes in here, nice core collapse is going to miss though. Gauntlet comes out, nice, gets 2 stuns, but this is mostly a defensive gauntlet as they're trying to get separation here. This Taka still going in very aggressively, looking to try to get the kill. He is going to get caught and does get away.
he does get out.
What? Oh my goodness, standing solo, unbelievable. Eventually goes down here, but not without all the turrets being eliminated. Krauser just trying to stay alive to get enough damage on the turret. On the crystal, he does go down. The Kraken is so low, and it is going to be GG.
Gonna finish the game.
And just
really good fights out of Necrolite there, right there at the end of the game. They brought back from that poor mid game they had. We've seen Misfits really bring their A game to the mid game, but then the positioning that Necrolite brought to the table towards the end there really carried them through.
Yeah, absolutely. And incredible matchup here. We talked about how Necrolite, the higher seed, dominated over Misfits. We have not seen any kind of dominant play from them. I mean, it wasn't a dominant win going up to all the way to the 22 minutes, but definitely showing them that if they hang in there, they can really, punch with the best. The biggest thing was the gold disadvantage. You really cannot let a team just have a gold lead over you the entire game. Even as you're starting to get objectives, it just is going to come back and bite you. And we saw it in this game here was, yes, Celeste is a late game hero, but so that Weapon Vox is going to be late game too. And if you allow him to have any kind of advantage over you, you run the risk of not being able to, get a kill. They were that close to killing standing solo, and that maybe would have saved the game. And instead, the Taka survives, gets both turrets, and then, allows Kraken to finish it off.
Yeah, standing solo definitely played towards the end game there on that Taka. He played perfect executed Taka play where he was able to get on the Celeste, he was able to get the Atlas off on the Glaive, and then in that last fight there, we've seen him focusing down those turrets, and the Crystal Taka is really good at bursting down the turrets, especially having the Kraken and the rest of the team there, so...
Yeah, absolutely. So not much they could do about it once the Kraken was taken. Very much, I kind of pointed to it as almost sealed their fate, as that was... kind of a tall order to be down by so many turrets with the Kraken at full health. So into game number 2, we are going to go. As I think Misfits feeling like maybe that one got away from them, and kind of a letdown if you're a Misfits fan here, hoping that they would somehow find a way to get back into these games, and just really struggling all around. So we are going to get into this game in just a little bit. Of course, I am your host, Dragonborn, joined by Denomine here for our first spring season VIS cast here for VISPRO. And you guys saw it, Misfits versus Necrolite, our highlight match to start today. And so far, Misfits struggling under the pressure. Necrolite looking to clean things up again. But it's a best of 3, everybody. We'll have to see how game number 2 goes.
How do you think we're going to be looking at the bans in this upcoming game? We've seen a lot of pressure down from that Celeste in the mid game, but for a majority of the game, we saw the Taka able to do a lot too. Do you think that's going to affect this upcoming draft?
I think that there is going to be possibly some respect to Celeste, maybe, and I think there should be because it obviously was giving them a lot of problems. And I expect Misfits, if they go with Celeste again, they're going to do a better job at picking some, maybe preventing the Taka. They actually took the Glaive for fear of being able to get bursted down because of Celeste squishiness, but it was really the Taka that gave them all the problems. And I think that, you definitely have to expect that they're going to be very mindful of that going into this next game. They are on A side, so they get that first pick to really dictate how they want to go, but I think first picking Celeste is probably not going to happen, especially after a loss like that. So you're going to.
That's a pretty risky move too, with all the strong counters left available for her at that point. Glaive, Taka. You have a Black Feather that could go into Celeste. That'd be a really difficult first pick to play around.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to get into it, everybody. Game number 2 of this best of 3 as the draft is starting here. Misfits now on A side. What are they going to come up with? What kind of changes are they going to make to try to get back into the series and take it to a game 3?
Well, Misfits, I think they're going to have to show a little bit of respect to that Taka play coming out of standing solo. He was able to get on Celeste every time uncontested in those late game fights, and that made a huge difference in how the fights played out from the mid game.
Absolutely. As we do start to get into bonus time. Actually, I think we have a... I think we're in. Okay, a little bit of a delay there just on trying to figure out their first ban.
We got a Lyra as the first ban, Lyra's always been a strong pick, the sustain that she provides the team, and we got the Grumpjaw ban on the side of Necrolite. And
I really think that Lyra ban is a great ban because of how much work Lyra did in that game. I mean, the Lyra's heal plus the Fountain kept that Taka alive, and it really was challenging. It was challenging a lot for Misfits to deal with it. Maybe that is a good change to this this comp that Misfits is going to probably run. We do see the Finn, so
Finn, in my opinion, can be a pretty risky pick with the high level of skill and roamers that we have here. The ability to block the hook is going to be pretty prominent. If you miss that Forced Accord, there's not a whole lot that Finn really brings to the table other than giving your opponent stacks of Broken Myth and Breaking Point.
And it depends on which compositions they go into. The one thing that Forced Accord does do, though, is forces you to burn the Crucible. Like, that's kind of one of the downsides, is if you have a composition with additional CC, and the Quibble, if you're able to get, like, maybe 10 seconds into the fight, if you're engaging with the Forced Accord, but committing to that fight regardless, it sometimes allows you to burn that Crucible, which can be very helpful as the fight prolongs. But Finn's very slow, so he's not particularly great at getting onto the backline.
We do see the respect out of the Celeste ban here. Definitely not wanting Exhale to get that pick again.
Yeah, the only disadvantage this gives is a more wide open carry list to Misfits, because banning Celeste, it does open up a lot of other carries that I'm sure Exhale can play. So I'm just kind of curious if that was needed. They were able to handle the Celeste, but I guess, just seeing how strong it was, maybe they feel like that was too close and too risky. And then another Vox pick. So Necrolite prioritizing this Vox in these 2 games.
One of the things with the Celeste ban to me is we often see Exhale and Jax will switch back and forth between lane and jungle. Sometimes we'll see Exhale in that jungle position and Jax will be in the lane with a Ringo or a Vox or a Gwen. So we'll just have to see how that affects their draft and where they play their position.
Absolutely. As a lot of time being used on this second pick, Misfits has their work cut out for them. I don't think they were hoping to let Adagio and Vox go over to Necrolite. So they are going to stick with this Crystal carry, and it could be a jungle scarf, but more likely a lane scarf, and continuing that trend of playing Crystal carries in the lane.
So now what I like here about this Scarf pick is Adagio is not necessarily the greatest jungler. He can be played in the jungler or as the jungler, but he's most likely going to be in the roam position since we already have this Vox. And that provides a really kind of squishy front line for this Scarf to be able to hit. The Adagio doesn't have any direct engage, so he has no way to gap close. So we'll have to see how the kiting from the Scarf plays out here. And we get the Rona pickup for the jungle.
Now, this Rona pickup is kind of an exciting one, and I'm thinking it's because they had an idea of what kind of jungler we were going to see out of Necrolite, because typically Rona plays really good into other bruisers and other really, if you have someone who has a lot of sustain, like an alpha, you can punish them, but it also has the ability to get to the backline and get on top of, let's say, a Kestrel or a Vox. But the Kestrel, I really like this pick because, the Kestrel can make people like Ozo and Rona pay for that aggression with really well-placed active camos.
It's kind of a double-edged sword at the same time, too, though, because if Rona is able to catch this Kestrel off guard in the jungle early, that the damage from Rona resets the cooldown on her active camo and leaves her very vulnerable, especially with Rona having 2 gap closers between her into the fray and the foe splitter.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of have to see how it plays out. I mean, one of the things I'll say is, looking at the composition, I do like Necrolite's better again, because it does have a lot more damage early on, and if they can take advantage of that, they can close out the game. But there is a few things, if executed correctly, especially if you're landing your Force to Cores. If any of those land, there's so much damage that's going to pile up on top of where that Force to Core is going to pull the enemy that you're almost going to be dead. You've got Goops, you've got the Rona, and you've got another Quibble. So that's the biggest thing Necrolite cannot let happen, is they cannot let have that Force to Cord land, because that could probably result in an instant deletion and probably, that for at least that team fight, an immediate victory for the side of Misfits.
Yeah, we'll have to see how we get the blocks down on that Force to Cord. As you were mentioning, it's definitely a very deadly thing to get pulled in by it. We'll have that goop, we'll have the Into the Fray followed by the Red Mist from Rona. That's a lot of damage that's going to pile up really quick if you don't block that Force to Cord.
Absolutely. Well, we're about ready to get into game number 2, as this one's coming down the wire here between these two teams. We'll be getting you guys updates on some of the other matchups going on around the league, as well as we have 2 matchups going on simultaneously in addition to this one. So we definitely want to make sure we keep you guys in the action. But we are about ready to get into it. Game number 2, it's Misfits versus Necrolite. And if this is anything like the first game, this is going to be a pretty long, grueling game of back and forth. We'll just have to wait and see, though.
That is correct. We'll get in the game here and go over some of the item pickups. I expect to see some early shield out of this Vox for sure.
Yeah, I do as well. And I'm just going to be kind of curious to see ultimately how they're going to play it. I think that it's a high risk, high reward for Misfits composition, but if played correctly, they could definitely surprise and take over the game. But overall, Necrolite, they have a chance here, I think, especially as they get closer and closer to the late game when that Vox turns on, to kind of catch that Scarf out, to delete the Scarf. So a lot of pressure is going to be on Finn to keep that Scarf alive.
That's correct, and we run into this situation again where we have both late game laners here again. We have the Scarf, who is definitely more of a late game hero, and Vox, who definitely functions as more of a late game hero. And we're just going to have to see how well the Vox is able to dance around these Spitfires and Goops. Is going to be the most important thing. But we also have Stan and Solo, who's going to be putting a lot of damage down with those Crystal Glimmer shots.
Yeah, and Crystal Kestrel is something I think a lot of players have come to realize its strength. It's really dominant early, and actually continues to put a lot of pressure into the late game as well. It's not something that really falls off very hard. So it's something you have to be very careful with going into. But you've got a Scarf here. The Scarf, even if you go invisible, can land a goop and get that damage on, get that pressure.
Yeah, and one of the big things that we have here is the way Crystal Kestrel functions in comparison to the Rona is when the Crystal Kestrel does rotate up to the lane, she has an incredibly long range and a lot of poke potential against this Scarf.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think really skill shots are gonna be the name of the game here as we get into this series. And so far, a pretty slow start here. Exhale and Krausner both going toe-to-toe here in CS. Pretty even as well. So we jump down to the jungle. It is Standing Solo who's leading the jungle CS and giving his team a slight lead. But, Rona's one of those tanky bruising kind of heroes that doesn't necessarily need to be ahead in the jungle, but they go right on to standing solo. Nice quibble lands. There's a miss on the active camo, but it follows up after that, and there's the kill as First Blood's going to go over to standing solo again, kind of reminiscent of game number 1 here as the Rona got caught out.
That is correct, and we definitely see standing solo flexing a little bit with the accuracy of those glimmer shots, able to hit the Rona with every single shot and just delete her from the fight immediately.
Yeah, she's definitely building a lot of damage. Oh, right behind the Scarf. Exhale is going to get that polite company. It might keep him alive. No, it's not. As that last glimmer shot finishes it off. And that's another kill. Standing solo is just ripping Misfits up here. And, you know, this is very similar to the Taka play from game number 1. Misfits did eventually come back into the game. But it's just putting you down in that hole so early, so quickly is very, very hard to get out of.
And I think we really got to respect standing solo for that kill right there. The knowledge of the hero to know just how much the 2 crystal bits was going to be able to get him into his stealth and be able to get behind the fin and get to the Scarf was just perfectly executed. He couldn't have played that better.
Yeah, you're right. He had just enough. He still, you know, he got there quickly and then went uninvisible and instantly started loading into the Scarf. And this is something Echo needs to get vision down, an absolute priority. So I would expect him to start building towards a contraption immediately following a fountain, because he cannot risk getting caught from the back line, not with the Scarf.
That is correct. The Finn is going to have the ability to soak up a lot of these Crystal Kestrel arrows here in the mid to late game. Finn's heroic perk allows him to get an extra 15% bonus health, armor, and shield. So it is a good pick into the Crystal Kestrel. We're just going to see if they're going to be able to get that Rona to engage strong enough on the Kestrel and keep her from putting down active camos.
Yeah, and already with being behind, you start to think of all the things you kind of need, all the things as part of the recipe for success for Misfits. You're going to need reflex boxes. You're going to need a lot of shield. You're going to need that, you know, aggressiveness. You're going to need boots for the engage. And so all these things you need, they cost money, and you're already behind in gold. So it's going to be kind of a long climb, but Misfits definitely can still pull it off as they get farther and farther in the game. Also, another point worth mentioning is just once the Finn comes online with those Forced Accords and that stun on the Quibble, it will help out because it is somewhat of a late game power spike from the Finn. And, you know, if you're able to pull in that Celeste, or that Kestrel, I mean, or if you're at least able to stun it, Kestrel, it slows down those glimmer shots and gives your carries a few more seconds to get out of the position here. We see another fight breaking out. Kestrel able to land a few more shots on Exhale as he heals up a little bit. Looking to come in here. He's got that Eve of Harvest first, and you can clearly see he's done that because he needs all the sustain he can get right now as they look to survive the mid game. A
good Quibble coming down on Krausner and Riesko.
Oh my goodness.
But those Crystal Kestrel shots getting right through the Finn to kill the Rona.
And Zax didn't realize how much damage the burning was coming on and the resonance bounces were being dealt by the Vox. As he was starting to engage on a little bit farther, he was losing more and more health, so by the time he realized he was too low, that last edge of the Glimmer shot was able to catch him and take him out. And, you know, staying solo, man, looking at 3-0-0. He's got all the kills for his team. Almost 100% participation by both members, too, as they have looked very dominant game number 2.
One of the things we're going to have to watch on this Finn is the polite company from Finn is very good. If you think Kestrel is around, you don't necessarily have vision. It's on a pretty short cooldown, and it has a wide AoE range where you can knock that Kestrel out of her invis and potentially jump on her and get the kill.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that can kind of work in favor of Misfits. There's a lot of things they could do, and we talked about it's like the recipe they need to make it happen, but it's a lot of very, very small margins for success here. One shot, one kill does come out and miss. Exhale's going to have to get out. Oh, nice Quibble. Lands on 2. Krausner's low. We do see Zax goes in. He's healing up with the fountain, but it goes down. Just not enough sustain yet as he's bursted away. And just like that, Stag Soul looks to get on top of Exhale. He's not going to get there and not get on top of him. So it is going to be a turret, though, that's going to be taking the pain of those glimmer shots here. Krausner gets low, drops really low, is able to get out of there, and it is going to be a survived turret, so they're able to keep it alive just a little bit longer.
We did burn a Vox ult here on accident. Looks like Krausner may have accidentally fired it off to the gold mine. we're just going to have to see how that affects the next fight. We've only got 1 point into it so far. That's a silence that's now on a long cooldown. I think this is an opportunity for Misfits if they did see that.
It is, but at the same time, the Kestrel's just really strong. So like,
standing solo is definitely showing he can play this hero.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be really hard for Misfits to deal with this fight if they don't get out in front of it right away.
We got a poison shiv finished here on the Rona. Going into this Adagio ought to be a pretty good item. Good quibbles by Riesco here in these fights, and a good active camo stun by the Kestrel.
Whoa! Oh my goodness!
This fight,
it's probably going to end as an ace, though. Krosner is going to get it, so this is going to be a turret. But that was an incredible fight here. Probably Misfits' first real chance at getting some advantages in team fights, or showing that they can have the advantage in team fights. But just like that, Krosner gets the turret, and he's going to be pushing this minion wave very quickly up to the second turret here before Zax gets there. But even with those conditions going in favor of Misfits at the early part of that fight, again, just not enough in the tank to get the job done here as they continue to push this gold lead, already sitting at 4,000, further and further away from Misfits, and Misfits is running out of time here to make something happen.
Yeah, one of the nice things about this Crystal Kestrel is the ability to stay invisible so long really cuts down your priority on needing defense. So we see Stan Solo going into a lot of offensive power. He's got that Frostburn, which is going to help him slow up the targets when he hits the Glimmer shot, and going to help him get the follow-up shots. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But Misfits being down a turret already is definitely they're gonna be feeling the pain here.
Yeah, absolutely here. Forced Accord actually pulls in the gold mine, so they're going to look to secure it, but it's going to be contested, and they get it thanks to the Rona, but look at the melt coming out, and Exhale, he is all by himself. He's not going to be able to live through that, even with that Eve, and so much damage coming out of Necrolite right now. They got the gold mine, but at the sacrifice of another ace, and Denominate, that's just
ace and turret.
It's just not worth it. It's not worth it at all.
It's definitely not. When you're in a situation like that where the other team is so far ahead and you have to play so close to them to try to get that gold mine, you've just given them the advantage. Yes, you got the 900 gold for getting the gold mine, but you allowed the other team to pick up the ace and 900 gold for the turrets. So the Misfits really losing out on the trade on that. They should have just given up the gold mine, continued to get their farm up, and tried to hold the wave.
One shot, one kill comes out. Does land on Eco. Little chip shot there as Exhales looks trying to get some poke. And this has been actually kind of the problem of this game is Exhales, Spitfires, they have not been able to land consistently. So the poke hasn't been as effective here as you see. Just missing out on some of that damage by a few seconds, if even that. And it's been a real problem. So none of those pieces that really are the recipe for success have come together for Misfits. And as time runs out on them, they need to be extra careful. The only glimmer of hope they have is that the Scarf, when he gets his third item, will be a monster. But he has to get there first, as you can see. Doesn't even have an infusion at this moment. He could infuse if he wants to, but that's going to put him even farther back. You do see, yeah, he chooses instead to build that tier 2 crystal item and forego the infusion just a little while longer.
We do see 2 infusions coming out for the side of Necrolite, though, and if you noticed in that last fight when we had talked about earlier the Crystal Kestrel not having to build as much defense, when that Spitfire does land, he hit almost 400 damage on it. So the saving grace for Misfits here is going to be that he can get the Spitfire down on standing solo and get a goop down to follow up and hopefully get him out of the fight.
And you see those resonance bounces already digging into Exhale. There come the glimmer shots. He's very low. He's going to be able to recall back here. This is actually where Misfits could kind of take advantage of their strength is as they get pushed back into their sanctuary. They can keep healing up and then pushing down the minion waves and healing up. And that will give them a few more minutes of time to kind of build into that. There's a Forced Accord blocked. Crucible out. The wait for it comes out. Almost gets the kill on Exhale, but the fountain comes in the nick of time. But the turret is going to be deleted. And just like what I was talking about, how I thought they could find ways to come back into this, they are getting melted. Look at that. Boosted in, finds the kill onto Exhale. Oh, there's another onto Zax, and this is looking to be a slaughter as they are closing this out. Necrolite 2-0ing Misfits again.
You know, I'm really hoping that Misfits can get up and hold out just a little bit longer and try to get that third and fourth item for the scarf, but it's not looking good for them at this point.
It's not. They are going to get the kill on the Vox. They got the kill on the Adagio. Oh, the Kestrel's going to have to back out of here.
If they don't spot this Kestrel, though, Kestrel has the ability to come in behind this wave and potentially take down the Vayne, or at least even be a nuisance.
Yeah, so at the very least, a lot of vision needs to start going down. And actually, one of the things that, with the Kestrel especially, you got to respect is the vision in the backside. You need vision back there behind the crystal so that they're not camping back there while you're kind of pushing ahead.
The potential of this scarf, we really, like I was saying, need to get that third and fourth item built here. I'd like to see Exhale drop either the armor or the shield and just prioritize whichever enemy is being the biggest threat to him. To me, it feels like Standing Solo is just playing beyond his limits right now. He's playing so well. And I'd like to see an Aegis come out and 4 items on Scarf, but I'm not sure they're going to have the chance to get that kind of gold.
Exactly. It's just really unlikely. If Frostburn comes out, I'm not sure if the Frostburn was what you need. I guess they do need to make sure if they can get onto someone, they can finish it off. So having that extra slow does punish if Necrolite makes a mistake, but that's a big if. Again, we've seen at this level of play, and the fact that Necrolite has had no problems dealing with the Quibble or the Forced Accord is really playing into their win condition and hurting Misfits a lot. We see there comes the wait for it again. Look how quickly Exhale is dropped. The Fallon doesn't come in time, and neither does the Eve of Harvest come online for them to get anything done, and this is it. That's another ace, and this is game. Necrolite 2-0s Misfits and takes this. They were the ones who kind of were a big heartbreaker to Misfits in the Challengers and second split. And again, Necrolite does it again. And it's just, unfortunately for Misfits, having to run into this team twice in a row.
It's definitely unfortunate. And I was hoping these games were going to be a little closer than they were, but Standing Solo is definitely my MVP for this series. I mean, he played out of his mind. The skill shots were perfect every single time. I think Necrolite's definitely going to be a good team to watch here in the upcoming games.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. They impressed. They were actually number 4 in the last split. They almost made the challenge battles. They were in challenge battles the split before and almost made it into the Vainglory 8. So when you're just talking about teams that are, kind of waiting in the wings and challengers, this is the team to watch. This is the team that everybody is going to be keeping an eye on because they are really hard to deal with. They're really, really dominant. And as you saw here today, there's not a lot you can do. There's not a lot of answers that you can have when going into them. They draft very, consistently. They draft very smart, and they seem to have an answer to some of the stuff that we saw Misfits pull out of as well. So with that, everybody, we are going to get ready for our next series in just a few moments, so you're definitely going to not want to miss it. It's going to be an exciting one, but we are going to take a quick break as we get ready for that. You are watching VISPRO, and as you just saw, Misfits does get dropped to Necrolite, but the next matches that come up are going to be just as exciting, so make sure you stay tuned after the break.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Welcome everybody back to VISPRO desk as we get ready for our second series of tonight, and we're actually waiting for a few updates to two other games that were happening in parallel that we weren't able to bring to you guys for extra streams later on tonight, due to scheduling conflicts with the teams. We are still waiting for results from both those games actually, so we don't have anything to report just yet, but what we do have is our next matchup. And Day, this is one we have been very excited for. This is one that's had a little bit of news talked about across the Twitterverse as we get into it, and it is Nova Esports versus Team Saints, mostly because there has been a little bit of news around Nova, just a little bit, as we get into some roster changes that have come courtesy today. As of course you guys do know, the Nova Esports that qualified through the challenge battles into the Vainglory 8 is Big Dog Starboy, Eddie Al, and Truth, but Lone Delphi is also a little bit of a typo there, but Lone Delphi is also on this roster. He's a new addition, and he's one to look like he's going to be, to make a big splash, I guess we could say, looking to take this roster and not, now that they got into the Vainglory 8, he's looking to help keep them there. And I'll be honest, man, this is looking like probably one of the strongest rosters going into the Vainglory 8 that we've seen in some time, and looking to maybe pull off something that we saw, Tempo Storm pull off by going into the Vainglory 8 and actually beating a lot of the teams that are there.
To me, one of the players to watch is definitely going to be Delphi, coming in off of that Echo Fox roster. I think he's going to do a lot better over here than we had seen on Echo Fox. His play style just tends to be a little more aggressive than his old teammates, and I think with having Truth in the lane for him, I think he's going to bring a lot more potential with teammates that play with the same aggression that he's capable of.
I absolutely agree. I think there's just so much that can come from this lineup. I think that, I'm really just excited to kind of see, now that he's got some big playmakers, and I think that might have been the challenge with his previous roster, is Lone Delphi maybe didn't have the ability to shine, the ability to play his level of play or his kind of game. And, so I think for him, I think the hope is now that he can, right? All eyes are going to be on Delphi. This is his one shot. He's been on multiple rosters where he's not been able to have much success, and now it comes down to, can he have success now? But there's a lot of hype about it because, a lot of people in the community do believe he really is a standout player. He just needed the right pieces in order to make it all work.
I definitely think that he has so much individual talent and potential he brings to the team. Just, it's really going to be about, can he form the synergy on a short notice at this point? How much does he play with these players on the side? We already discussed briefly that, they share a very aggressive aspect, which is definitely going to help them. So we'll just have to see how he meshes in with the rest of Nova.
Absolutely. All right, we're checking in with the teams to see if we're ready to get into the draft. As I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited to get into this one. Everyone says looks like they are good to go. So if you're ready, man, I'm ready as we get into game number 1 between Nova Esports and Team Saints. And Team Saints, they're an exciting roster too. We were talking about them early on in the stream. They've got Saints. They've got some other players that have been playing in the Challenger Series with some varying success. So I guess it's going to come down to, do they have what it takes to get into it? And into the draft for game number 1, we are going to go, man. So, Day, let's get right in and start breaking it down.
All right. We got the immediate Taka ban coming out of A side.
That is interesting.
It's interesting. I don't know if I personally have seen enough footage on Team Saints to know if this is targeted or if it's something that perhaps Nova wants to have a pick that Taka is good into, a Sky or a Celeste or something of that nature.
I mean, I've played with Saints. I know he likes Taka. So I mean, maybe that is a pick that he's looking to just, they're looking to take off the board right off the bat.
Yeah, and we got the Kestrel band coming in over from Team Saints. So we'll have to see what this first pick is from Nova Esports. And first pick, Vox.
Interesting bans. This really changes the whole dynamic of how the rest of this game is going to be. Yeah, you take both those heroes that can go invisible off the board, and then you first pick the Vox. It kind of tells the enemy team what your plan is, what you're going to do. but maybe Nova's okay with that. They don't seem too concerned, and obviously they're valuing that box pick so much to risk it. And Idris comes out. It's kind of a surprise pick here. Tell me a little bit about Idris Denomine, because we don't see him come out in competitive play too often.
He's a hero that has a lot of high skill potential. I definitely think in the right hands, he brings a lot of damage to the table and a lot of mobility. However, I'm almost concerned we didn't see a Baron pick into the Vox. Baron, as he levels up that ult, is able to outrange his Vox pretty substantially, and in most games of even skill match, that Baron seems to prevail over a Vox. So we could potentially still see it, but I'm just not sure how I would feel about the Crystal Idris in the jungle.
Well, the Liber finally gets banned, and honestly, I couldn't believe that it got through. So, very big shock, the fact that... And actually, I'm surprised Team Saints banned it, because they could have picked it next, but clearly they wanted a different ban coming from Nova. The Baron is that ban, and we're going to go into the next pick here. But I'll be honest, man, this is a strange first two picks to see these carries kind of come out here, and I feel like it gives a lot of cards. I have to imagine that, as these teams like Nova makes it into Vainglory 8, they got to be careful about drafting that, obviously.
Yeah, and I'm a little concerned at all the bonus time burned on that Lyra ban. That should have been a pretty obvious, immediate ban. But we do have the Arden picked up by Team Saints. He synergizes pretty well with the Idris, able to get in and out of the fights pretty quickly with the Idris's mobility, and a Black Feather is picked up by Nova Esports.
Now, they go with the Lance. I was going to say they had Adagio still open if they wanted to pair that up with the Black Feather with a single heal comp. Instead, Lance is really great into just about everybody, maybe except Finn, because of his ability just to continually pressure in those tight canals, in those tight channels. So now, as we go back to Team Saints here, they are going to go back onto bonus time. They've got to pick up a jungler here. Instead they go with the Scarf. Now, is this going to be then Idris in the jungle and Scarf in the lane?
I think the Scarf fares a little better into the Vox in the lane, and then vice versa. I think the Idris just is a little better into the Black Feather. However, we are going to see that Crystal Black Feather come out, and when he gets that level 8, the extended range on his on point, that's going to be a pretty deadly thing for him. So we'll just have to see how the team's played out.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get into this game number 1 here. It is a best of 3, everybody, and so a lot is on the line. We'll see as they are in queue, jumping into it, jumping into the fold here to get pumped up. And yeah, it is going to be, it looks like Saints on Idris, so kind of curious how the composition will work, if it is going to be a Scarf in the jungle or not. I'll have to wait and see here. But we're not going to have to wait very long.
That's correct. So we do actually see Starboy coming in on this Vox. So definitely going to be looking at him to see how he transitions off of. We've seen him play a lot of roam for Nova in the past. So we'll just have to see how he transitions into the lane here.
Yeah, and he did tell me before this game, hey, Dragon, we've got a surprise. My guess is this is it. It's going to be Ediol on support, which we've seen Ediol play carry, but he is a support main. So it was actually a Samuel carry on Ediol that got them into the Vainglory 8, if you could believe it or not. But man, that just tells you the depth of this team. All of these players can play all of the positions in the game, which is something you don't see all too often.
Yep, we're seeing a bit of jungle pressure here to get that mid camp, and here we see the minion candy I was talking about. So Starboy is going to be able to pressure out this lane pretty quick here, and hopefully the turret will cause either. It looks like it's going to be Saints in the lane. Not sure I 100% agree with it, but it really just depends on the hero comfort. But we'll see if they can keep the pressure up.
Yeah, and this is actually kind of interesting. They are able to get up there in time to get some of that CS, so he's not going to miss out on a whole lot. It's kind of hard that first wave to push it hard, unless the enemy team is committed to going to your camps, right? If they're just going for that treant, they can get that treant down fast enough. It is going to be that Scarf jungle, which surprised me. I did expect the Idris in the lane, so the Scarf pick was definitely one not expected. But what it is maybe it's just something he's comfortable on, and the late game here from this team is definitely going to be potent. Already you see Starboy on this Vox taking a little bit of pressure from the Idris.
Yep, so we've got about an even trade as far as the laners here, but we do see that Thug Nasty Larry is pretty low also, so we'll have to see if they can keep the pressure up. We've got the Scarf and the Blackfeather dueling down here in the jungle, and it looks so far like the Scarf is going to win this one.
Oh, just barely dies.
Just barely dodges that Spitfire.
Oh my goodness, that was crazy. Larry does finish it off with a blood for blood. But that's not the way you want to go down. I mean, actually, I was kind of impressed on how close that was, considering the Scarf, didn't have any items really. So, I mean, not a lot of damage just yet. But even so, just, at level 2, you'd expect the goop positioning might have helped. Missed a little bit of it on stream, so I don't think we were able to catch just how it all played out. And with this, look at this. Saints is able to pretty effectively push this lane up while also harassing Starboy. And it's pushing these minions under turret. This is definitely going to be difficult for Saints to continue to farm. But look at, oh my goodness, Saints here, man, has Starboy completely on the back foot as he continues to push this. And now Starboy is going to be forced to give up some CS in order to shop.
Yeah, and we see Scarf picking up a kill on the Lance down here in the jungle, and they're going to go for this Treant. Blackfeather misses the steal. But we definitely see Saints with the Book of Eulogies definitely helping him hold up that sustain in this early game against the Vox, able to continuously put the pressure down. But it looks like now we have a Barbed Needle on the Vox too, so we'll have to see how these trades end up going out.
Truth, he's just dodging a lot of this damage, looking to avoid it. There's a nice on point as he's going to have to get away. He's going to go down here thanks to the Arden's Vanguard. It does allow Starboy to get some farm here without too much pressure from the Idris. Saints on this Idris has been impressive. He's got a strong CS. He's out CSing he's out CSing Starboy. Oh no, he's not out CSing Starboy, but he is dealing a lot of damage and a lot of pressure. Actually, that's surprising. I wasn't expecting that. That wave gave Starboy so much farm that he's actually now taking the lead over Saints.
Well, we did see Saints miss out on a lot of the farm. The wave was underneath underneath Starboy's turret. He was able to get those hits down as the turret got them down, able to help him clear the wave quicker and push his wave into the enemy turret.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely here is Scarf is also leading the Blackfeather in CS by just 1, but the fact that Idris is so ahead it's resulting in a slight net lead in gold. And you got to feel pretty good when you have this late game comp with this Scarf in the jungle that you're already leading ahead. Truth's looking to try to do some counter jungling here. Does come in. Does get the on point and the Treant, but he's going to pay a lot for it. There's a lot of damage coming out from that goop already, as he is going to have to back off. And up in the lane, Starboy, he's low on energy, but trying to hang in here with Saints. And he continues to just CS a lot better. He's already very close to 10 CS ahead of Saints here. As the Idris, oh, nice impale. There's going to be the get Woo! That's a kill.
And kill for Starboy and for Truth. That's going to help them extend their gold lead here a little bit. Not much, we're about 500, 600 in, but we'll just have to see if Truth is able to get down here and take some jungle and extend that lead.
Oh yeah, double kill, and like you said, being able to split the kill between both carries is a huge win for Nova. As, we are starting to see them come online here. The Vox still doesn't have a tier 3 item, but as we get closer and closer to 5 minutes, with 2,000 gold, he should be getting one right now. And he's going to actually start with that Poison Shiv. We've seen that a few times.
Poison Shiv, definitely a good item. It doesn't necessarily have to be used against... Oh, we missed a Blackfeather kill here up in the lane.
Yeah, I just caught that. And, so actually, let me talk about that kill real quick. That was, he put so much damage on the Scarf, then actually repositioned, but still within range on his on point. And Raymond, he needs to get out of the position or out of range of that on point if you're that low as a Scarf. And he could have done it, but just risky play by him, staying within range. And now Truth able to take the jungle, finds Raymond again. He's going to go in. There is a Rose offensive here. The ultimate's coming in, but the Impale helps finish it off. Now it's Larry who's taking a chunk of damage. And Nova turning up the heat here, looking to take this game over. They've pushed this minion wave up and starting to do damage on the turret as well.
Yeah, we definitely see Starboy keeping a little bit of a lead on Saints here, about 10 CS ahead, which is, got him a whole level ahead now, too. We have Vox has his ult, and Saints is still sitting there, 2/3 of the way to level 6, so that's definitely something to look forward if there's a team fight here.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see as we get to the mid game. The Scarf is going to start turning on, deal more damage. We do see Raymond actually goes, Redman goes for the Shatterglass first. So less sustain, but more damage here as he's looking to try to find something. And I think with, pairing the Scarf's going to be doing all this damage, going to want to gain the focus. It does allow Idris potentially to kind of build up damage and kind of surprise you in these team fights if you don't pay attention to him. But right now, the gold lead of 2,000 is putting Nova in a good spot. They shouldn't have to worry too much here. Those Goop, though, that Goop is doing a lot of damage already. You just see that just eating into Truth. And
Truth taken very low. We didn't have to burn Fountain for him, but it's definitely going to force him out of lane.
Yeah, you got to respect the poke from Scarf, even if it's not late game yet. As you see, Truth actually comes around. Oh, super dangerous. The Scout Trap's going to finish him off. Really thought he could be cute there, going through that bush to get the kill. And now you see the Idris able to jump onto Starboy and does get the kill, finishes it off. Scout Trap almost catches Saints. Not quite the trick. And now it's the Saints. They are starting to come into this game, finding their groove. And you've got to respect that Scarf. He's going to come online as he builds those tier 3 items. And only one tier 3 item day, but he's already packing a punch.
Well, and the thing with the jungle is the Scarf is able to get the level ups quicker, so he's able to put more points in those Spitfires real quick, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the damage come from. Obviously, yes, we have that Shatterglass, but the level advantage that he's got going too, especially to come, well, he doesn't have a level advantage, but to come back and close the gap is super important for Team Saints here.
Yeah, so a closer game than maybe we were anticipating. We aren't seeing Lone Delphi, and this is a kind of a strange mix-up of these starters on these different roles. So I think sometimes, and you can see this happen with Nova, is they get a little too cocky, thinking that they can play whatever and still win. And maybe right now Saints is making them pay for some of that overconfidence. Spitfire lands on Truth. Man, Raymond finding the Spitfire, kind of lucky, but oh, here comes the Gauntlet. He Rose Offensives out, and Ediel's going to get out as well, but nice Gauntlet, looking to try to find something, just not able to, with the vision in that bush, land too much damage on the carry.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty heavy game depending on poke. The Scarf is definitely going to want to get some poke down before these fights, but we're going to fall in the same realm with the Black Feather with that extended range now that he's level 8 on his on point. Whoever gets the most poke down is really going to have a lot of engage potential here.
Oh, Starboy's got to watch out, taking a little bit of damage under turret. Ediel takes a shot as well. They weren't able to really trap down Saints, even with that Impale. So that's kind of a disappointment for Nova, as they're looking to try to find some kind of momentum here. At least some early engage poke. On point does find... This is a Crystal Black Feather. Those on points really do hurt. And when it does land, you see right there just how much damage it does. The range on it, as it is max now, is full range. Misses the on point again, though, so this is going to be forcing Nova to disengage from this fight. Team Saints, they looking to come in here. There is the Saints. Wow, look at how much damage he is putting on the Truth. That on point able to save him with that barrier, but Truth of Light having to actually disengage completely from this fight, as he's just not able to get in time. Starboy looking to try to rack up that damage, but the sustain from Serpent's Mask just not enough to find it, and this is another kill going over to Team Saints.
I think the big thing here is we're definitely seeing a lot more accuracy on the skill shots out of Team Saints, and it's really showing an impact with the constant accuracy of the Spitfire, versus we've seen Truth be a little sloppy and miss a couple of these key on points, which are really going to be dependent on keeping him in the game.
Absolutely. Just kind of overall interesting strategy coming into this first game. They are looking to contest the gold mine. The Gauntlet comes out. Nice Gauntlet. Prevents the steal. Ediel's not able to get there in time. And the Gifted Wall really just for good measure at that point, as there's not much they can do to re-engage. I'll maybe clear out some vision. But Saints has just been playing better. They've been able to get into the positions they've needed to. And it really comes down to Saints able to engage on this Idris. We've seen him use his ult several times with a lot of effectiveness, so that keeps working out. Also, there needs to be more respect onto this Scarf. Scarf has 2 items, has the Eve of Harvest. He's going to be really hard to take out.
Scarf got a pretty decent chunk of damage down there on Starboy and Truth with that goop, so this falls back into the game of who's going to get the most poke down before the fight is really going to allow you to have that hard engage that both of these teams need to execute on.
Yeah, we see Truth continues to take these Spitfires over and over again. It's a real problem. Get the wall goes backwards. That wasn't the play you wanted, Eddie, as he now has to get out. Saints looking to come in here, takes a little bit of poke damage in the process. Starboy able to keep the sustain. They're continuing to push this minion wave up. They're looking to try to get this first objective. This turret is very low. Just a few more shots. Fallon has to come out because the wait for it comes out, but he finds the kill anyway. Starboy gets it, and you're going to see a disengage. Team Saints has to get out of here, and now this is looking like Nova might be able to secure this first turret. Instead, they're actually not even going for the turret. They're going to just rotate down. It's going to allow Team Saints to clear out that with that scarf.
So we do see a tension bow just picked up by Saints, and I'm not really sure how in love with the 12.5-minute tension bow I am, so we're going to have to see how that plays out for him.
Well, there's a lot of people talking about how the tension bow, it's not quite an only early game item, as Truth just barely steals that camp from the scout trap. It has, with that piercing, the ability to scale with other heavy weapon items like a Sorrow Blade, because it's giving you 50% pierce, which plays into the Sorrow Blade build. But you're right, it's not necessarily something you can play around when you need every single attack you've got to be dealing and dishing out damage. We are seeing, here comes the Gauntlet. Starboy does
good block by Starboy.
Yeah, he's able to get out. There's no need for a Crucible just yet, although you see Eddie working on a Crucible with that Dragon Heart there. Truth continues to take these Spitfires to the face, and this is going to catch up with him. You see Starboy now taking one, and the poke damage coming from the scarf has been very effective.
And Starboy taking a lot of poke from the scarf too.
Yeah, he is. Eddie tries to get a cheeky Githian wall onto the scarf, but there's no one there to back him up, so he's going to disengage, and now Truth's very low. Oh, they got to watch out. Look at this. Team Saints sees the opportunity to go in for it and finds the kill, and that was a huge misplay by Truth of Light. Starboy's all by himself. He is going to find a kill there onto Saints, so now it's just a scarf left. Who is going to end up on top here? This game is so close here. There's another kill, and Starboy, he's doing it. The Vox comes online. Oh man, breaking point with double lifesteal, man. It is surprising.
We saw a really beautiful execution there by Saints, noticing that Truth is so low, able to jump onto him and immediately delete him. But Starboy, avoiding the skill shots out of Saints to follow up, he was able to clean up that kill, and now they've got turret and gold mine behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. Unbelievable. And, just like that, this game is starting to move in favor of Nova, and kind of surprising actually how close it's been. I think we both expected Nova to be more dominant in this matchup.
I definitely expected to have Nova have the lead. It's been a pretty back and forth game so far, but the ability for Nova to come out of that last fight having already lost Truth and still clean up the ace, that shows a lot on its own.
We've got another fight. There's a kill as Larry's down, and Starboy with that lifesteal, he just won't die, as you see him basically flirting with the brink of death and able to come right back into it. And he's already over half health on his health bar thanks to all that lifesteal here, as it's just Scarf left. Now you gotta be careful. The Scarf can definitely surprise you with the damage, but they're looking to get there. There's the Githy wall, there's the impale, and just like that, they're jumping on him. Scar's gone, and Nova's going to be able to secure another turret with that ace.
That was really good play by Eddie there with the root and the stun up against the turret, able to keep that scarf there while his team was able to close the gap and clean up the kill. And it looks like they probably could have got another turret off of that, but they choose to back off. We'll have to see what they do with their time here. There's 2 members back up from Team Saints already, so there's not really a whole lot of safe potential Kraken take here.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how they play the objective game. With the turret down and the second turret almost gone, they definitely have the advantage to continue pushing. I don't think they need to focus on getting the Kraken right now and just focus on these team fights. You see them doing just that, worrying about the farm instead, able to clear out, continue to take away that mid Treant from from Team Saints here and push up. And they're going to push up onto this turret instead, which is, I think, the right call.
I agree, and I definitely like that in each of these rotations, they're making sure the Scarf is missing out as much farm as he can. So we'll definitely be noticing how Scarf is a little bit behind here, not much, but with the rotations that Nova keeps putting out, I highly expect this lead to extend.
Absolutely. With Kraken on the board too, it just forces the Team Saints to not have to recall as much. It puts them kind of in a tough spot where they want to keep farming, but when they recall, it opens up the map for Nova. So good vision control will help Nova continue to just push in. There's the recalls coming out. If they could have gotten vision on that, I'm not sure if they did, so they're not going to start up this Kraken just yet. Instead, thinking maybe Team Saints might come back into this fight here, not knowing that they recalled at that point. You actually have Truth. He's healing up with some of these treants and finishing out this back farm that was actually just sitting here building up gold over the last few minutes. But look at this. We do have a possible engage. Another Spitfire lands, and a Goop does just catch the edge of Starboy. And I gotta be honest, the Scarf, Raymond, has done a great job at being able to poke. But when they get caught out like this, there they come in so quickly, Nova, with all of those combos to try to get a kill as fast as they can. Doesn't work out that time, so back up to the lane they go. Look at the finish pushing this lane. And right now, Team Saints just finding ways to clear out this wave and keep this turret alive.
They're going to have to find some gold somewhere because, we keep looking at this game and Starboy keeps extending his lead over Saints. He's up 40 CS over Saints right now, and there's a large amount of gold difference here at this point in the game. We're sitting at about 6,000. We're getting to the point that the gold lead might not be as important as the builds start to even out, but we'll just have to see, if Team Saints can pull it together.
Absolutely. I don't know. This
looks like we're asking for a pause.
Let me see here. It does look
in
like...
general.
Yeah, there is a quick request. Some issues here, so we'll get this out before we get into any crazy fights. A quick pause so people can get that sorted out. I think it might have been deleted though. You still see that request?
Someone just deleted it, like just this second.
All right, I think we're okay. I think we're okay to get back into this. I don't see anything to suggest otherwise. So, we do try to make sure if there's a disconnect issue, which we didn't see. Oh, but Ediel, he is shopping a little too long. Was worried that maybe he thought the pause was still in place. And we see a bunch of grouping up here down by the shop, the jungle shop, looking to see if who's going to make the right play. Now, a lot of this, the recipe for success here comes down on can the poke from the Scarf outpoke the Blackfeather, and so far it has not been the case, as the Blackfeather has been pretty successful here, finding a little bit of damage. They are going to finally get that healer treant, that mid treant there, but with that, Nova's going to be able to start up this Kraken.
I really think they're baiting the Kraken. I think Nova's at a point where they know they can win the fights as long as they play them smartly. However, we do see the Atlas get down here on Starboy.
We do. There's the nice... Oh, the Gauntlet just barely misses. And nice get the wall by Ediol to keep pushing that front line back from the engage from Team Saints. They're going to now focus on this Kraken, but this is super dangerous. They're going to probably have to disengage because it's with that sustain from Starboy, and they don't know that Starboy recalled back actually, or headed back to the back jungle. And Truth with that on point, they can stay in a fight even when they're low health. So smart play for Team Saints to prevent the Kraken take from Nova, but also not commit to the bait completely and not overstay.
I'm a little worried for Truth right now. I'm noticing he's gone into such a heavy crystal path. It's working out well. He's getting a lot of poke damage down when he does land those on points. But when we see him get hit by, the Idris or the Scarf, it's putting him into really dangerous territory, especially knowing the Idris has that tension bow where he can jump in and execute that Blackfeather easily.
Exactly. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward, which we see Truth play a lot. He loves to take the chances. He loves to make the plays. He is a risk taker. as he does stay down below his team. He's actually separated. He's going to have to get out. This is very dangerous. He gets caught. He's gone. What was he thinking that play? We'll never know, because just like that, he is deleted off the fold before he could even say a word. And it's going to be, it's actually going to be Nova just actually looking to try to catch out one of the carries here in the Jumbo Shop. It is going to be, yeah, it's Starboy thinking about maybe putting on that breaking point. Does get Atlas, but
he does block the Atlas.
Yeah, nice heads up play here. He's trying to stay alive. Does he do it? Oh, the Githian wall keeps the enemy team back just long enough as he avoids the Spitfire as well. And Starboy on this Vox is just becoming impossible to take down. As he looks to go in, he's going to find the Scarf. He's still alive. Does he finally go down? Yes, the Idris finds him, but Edial, one more Impale should do the trick, and not that time. Oh boy, yeah, Edial, you're not
man, Saints making a brave escape.
Edial, you're not going to find the kill, so he gets away. Saints has to feel very lucky that that Impale didn't connect.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was at a danger for even the Githian wall would have killed him there, so it's... You know, a really good play by him to dodge that Impale and then abuse the fact that Lance has that long cooldown after using the ability to be able to escape.
Exactly. So, I mean, Truth getting caught out there was a big win for Team Saints, but the fact that they weren't able to capitalize it on at all, and the fact that Starboy just kind of came in here so clutch, almost soloing the whole team, really kind of surprising.
Yeah, I mean... The double lifesteal we definitely see is playing a lot into this. Starboy's able to sustain a lot through these fights.
He really is, and just that Githian wall, like that, you cannot talk about how amazing that was at preventing that, you know, the kill to be, because they were just lumping on to Starboy at that point in that last fight. But you know, we're getting into the late game here. Scarf is definitely, you know, he's really close to max build. Defensively not quite, but offensively you've got those 3 items. This is kind of, you know, the most we should expect to see. I wouldn't be surprised if Saints, once he gets a 3rd item, sells that tension bow, maybe for something that does a little bit more sustain. As we do see Truth very gutsy, continuing to be in a very forward position here. He's almost playing bait, but sometimes getting caught out a little too far from his team.
I'm kind of hoping to see a 4th damage item again come out on this Scarf. You know, we were discussing it in the Misfits game. Scarf has a lot of backwards kite potential where he can put down the Spitfires and the Goops and deal a lot of damage without necessarily being in range of the Vox, but we've got a pretty dangerous Kraken take here.
Yeah, there's the gauntlet. They all come out. They're trying to get it. It is going to be Nova that secures the Kraken. Here comes the Dragon Breath. Can they catch Nova out? It is going to be a slight disengage. Nova is able to get away, but here comes the wait for it, and it is going to be Starboy trying to stay alive. Foul comes out. This is not what you wanted, Team Saints, as they are turning online. You just can't bring down this Starboy. He is unbelievable on this Vox. This sustain is crazy, and now... with him going up to catch the Ardent, is going to be Truth trying to finish off this Scarf. Scarf gets the kill onto the Lance, but it's going to be both carries for Nova.
Both carries and the Kraken is another huge thing here with the long death timers of a 24-minute game.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be 2 turrets. I'm not sure if they can end it right here. It's a little risky. They do
I think they have the damage potential with Truth having as much damage as he does, where they could finish the game here. The Kraken's still really healthy. These turrets are going down quick, and
there you go.
You know, they're still down for, you know, 15 seconds here.
And they just came online, but it's not going to be enough. This turret is, this crystal is fastly depleting, and it's just like that, almost dead. The Kraken's still full health. You are going to see Saints get a kill, but it's not going to save them the game, as this final hit by the Kraken finishes it off, and game number 1 going to Nova Esports.
Yeah, really, really well played by Nova Esports there. You know, we see Truth going with this, like you mentioned earlier, really high risk, high reward build. It seems to have been rewarded this time. You know, he may not have been the highest KDA on his team, but he was able to get down the damage, especially seeing those turrets get melted there at the end of the game. You know, big 400 and 500 damage spikes out of this Black Feather.
Yeah, I mean, and just like that, you know, he's able to put that pressure, kind of outpoke the scarf there, if you so to speak. But I think the biggest storyline here has been Starboy on this Vox. Unbelievable play, definitely the MVP of this match. I mean, he just saved the game time and time again, and I've seen this double lifesteal comp come out from Voxes. I've just never seen it done so effectively. This is definitely the best double lifesteal game I have seen from a Vox, at least competitively here on VIS, and of course coming out on Starboy, who's been the support for the last 3 months here for Nova. That is really incredible.
Yeah, and Starboy is really a player to watch for me because, we've seen him here in VIS as, playing this roam position mainly, but watching his stream, we see him play a lot of jungle. We see him play a lot of lane. He has a large understanding for a lot of the heroes in the game, so no matter where he's playing, he understands the win condition for whoever he's playing, for what his teammates are playing, and what the enemy is playing, and is able to counter it pretty well.
Yeah, really fantastic job here by the team here, and not playing with their new pickup, not playing with that new starter. So who knows what's really next for Nova as they continue to be dominant. I mean, it was a little close, I'll be honest. It was, for that early part of the game, was a little bit on favor of Team Saints, but Nova they're able to get back into this game and take the win. And with that, we're going to be able to get into game number 2 now to see how Saints responds. I think this is definitely the real test, is, for Saints, if you want to go up against these top teams, you got to be able to respond to a loss, and also look at when you switch over to A side, find ways to counter the team you just played in the draft, or at least get the upper hand. So with that, I'm just going to check in, see if we're ready to go.
It looks like we have a sub for Nova Esports here.
Yes, we do. And I think that sub, it is going to be Lone Delphi. And if there was a weak spot to the team last game, it was the fact that they were playing a somewhat off comp positional strange game between their team. What they've been playing over the last 3 months is a little different. They're playing outside of their comfort zone, maybe, although I think Starboy on the Vox is not necessarily outside of his comfort zone.
I think seeing Delphi come into this game, though, I definitely think that we're going to see Starboy move back into that roam position, let Delphi come into the jungle, and Truth into the lane where he really kind of shines. So this is the ideal roster I personally want to see out of Nova.
Yeah, so we saw how they struggled the last game. We see they made some mistakes. There was definitely some positional stuff early game and some over-aggressive play out of Truth. Let's see if they clean that up, because I agree, this is the roster. I'm expecting this roster to shine, and I'm hoping that we can kind of see a little bit of a preview of what we're going to see in VG8 here today, as we are looking to get into this game. And I think everybody's ready. So without further waiting, guys, let's get into it. Game number 2 as we start this draft.
The draft begins.
Saints, as they move over to A side, they've seen the Vox play, but they know Starboy switching out, and there's a whole different starting lineup probably in the lane and jungle. What do you think they're going to do to kind of counter that? What's kind of those first couple bans they definitely should be focusing on?
I'm not necessarily sure if it's ban worthy, but I do think they need to keep a little bit of focus on this Vox. Yes, Starboy just had a great performance on it and is now moving into the roam position, but we know Truth is also a very good laner. He's able to compete at this top tier, just as much as any other player is. So we could potentially see another double lifesteal Vox come out, and we see them dipping into a little bit of bonus time here.
Yeah, just going to be checking to make sure that they are connected. But it's unusual when you get into these games, like right off the bat. So I'm actually going to double check here. They do put in the ban, but they ate almost half their bonus time for that.
Over half of their bonus time.
Yeah, so, I mean, they've still got a decent amount of time to finish off the draft. And, of course, they've got time to think about while Nova's picking.
Early Baron ban here. Potentially a targeted ban. Maybe the Truth plays a lot of Baron when they play against him or scrim against him. So, oh no, it swaps. Okay, hold on. So you swap sides. Okay, reading a little bit backwards there. So it is a Baron ban from Nova Esports.
Yeah, and we actually saw Baron ban, I believe it was on B side last time as well, so a
Yeah.
lot of respect to the Baron pick here so far.
And Team Saints picks up that first pick Vox. So we'll have to see. Nova just banned away that Baron, as we discussed earlier, is a really good pick into Vox. So
Yeah, I mean it definitely is. So definitely some nice heads up play there. I mean I think maybe that was definitely a decision by Nova to get that Baron out of the play because maybe they know there's a strong pick. They do pick up the Adagio and early game. If this is going to be a carry Adagio in the lane, which I'm not sure it will be, but you do expect that like a little bit of pressure. Vox can sometimes struggle early, but that is usually overcome pretty quickly.
yeah, and picking up the Adagio here with it being available and them having a ban to potentially still ban the Lyra here, but instead they ban the Taka. The Adagio can be flex picked to either be a laner or a captain or potentially even a jungler in the right draft.
The Taka ban is interesting because if it's a support Adagio, it's kind of starting to give you some ideas of what they're looking to pick here. And maybe they're going to have a squishy backline with that lane carry. So they definitely want to get that Taka out. The Glaive is then banned. So both the Taka and Glaive, who are so good at getting on that backline, are removed. And it is a Gwen. Now, we have seen a lot of Gwen play come out of Nova, but we haven't seen it with this lineup. So is it going to be Delphi in the lane with that Gwen?
I definitely think we're going to see Truth in the lane with this Gwen, and Delphi is going to stick to his traditional jungle carry. I don't think it's going to be the Adagio, but I do notice here we have this Grumpjaw still left wide open, which has been a really strong pick, and especially with the Lyra that Team Saints just picked up. I think they can run that weapon Vox in the lane and run a Crystal Grumpjaw or a utility Grumpjaw in the jungle and really put on a lot of pressure here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Lyra paired with that Grumpjaw has been very effective. They've got a little bit more bonus time left. Now, I did get word that they kind of ran out of time. They weren't quite in the draft when that time started. So they do make a pick here and pick the Scarf. Not quite what I had in mind here. We've seen a lot of prioritization around Scarf during this entire, during the last two series, actually.
Yeah, they played a really good Scarf last game. I didn't feel like the team fights were picked as well as they needed to. And this is a pretty signature pick for Delphi, in my opinion. I've seen him play some really good Samuel, and it's a very, very aggressive pick, which is what we talked about earlier with, their team being able to work together with the aggression that they have and synergize well into these fights.
Yeah, so we'll have to see kind of how it all comes together. I'm really interested, with that Scarf pick, then you see the Samuel come out. So normally I wouldn't have been a huge fan of the Samuel, but with a Scarf, you're not going to have, that really heavy engage on top of you in the jungle. So it's kind of going to be a poke battle between both teams as we head into this matchup. But, absolutely something to kind of keep an eye on. It's just really who's going to play what position. That's kind of the unknown at this point, the unknown factor as we get into game number 2.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think Delphi definitely strives more in the jungle and Truth more in the lane. So I'm definitely thinking it's going to be Truth on the Gwen and Delphi on the Samuel. Obviously, Starboy is going to be picking up the Adagio as a roam, which does function pretty well. There's no heavy dive where the Adagio ult is going to be really necessary. But if they do try to hard engage with that Lyra portal, they do have that in their back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, that's like kind of how you want to play with this Scarf, is to be able to poke and use the Lyra to prevent any kind of diving or engaging onto you. But we are getting into the game, everybody. We're getting ready to see it all get thrown down right here. And it's going to be Lone Delphi finally stepping up to the plate here to play for Nova Esports. I think the roster we are most anticipating here. And so into game number 2 we go, ladies and gentlemen. As it's going to be Starboy on that Adagio, so likely that Rome Adagio we were talking about.
Yep, and like I was saying, I definitely think Truth's going to be on this Gwen in the lane. That's where, to me, he is the most comfortable. I was kind of confused that he was in the jungle last, but maybe that was playing around the comfort of Starboy. No prioritization on some early defense there out of Nova Esports, though.
Yes, but there was also like a little bit of a lack of prioritization on defense for that Scarf pick. So maybe that's like kind of what's driving this, is they know early game the Scarf might be looking to poke some damage and they want to just outplay it. Starboy is going to be holding a position here in the center above the Elder Treant, looking to just kind of keep vision. And we actually see supports do this a lot. We've seen Starboy do this a heck of a lot, and sometimes he gets punished for that because he would be overextending and oftentimes get caught out.
Yeah, I think he was pretty safe there, though, knowing he was going up against the Lyra and a Scarf in the jungle, and they had vision on the Vox in the lane. It was a pretty safe call for him. There's no really heavy engage or CC because he's not a melee roamer, so he's not in range of that bright bulwark. So really smart play out of Starboy there to keep vision on the enemy and protect that middle camp.
We are seeing Nova push down to the back. They're looking to be pushing aggressively with this engage, trying to steal this Treant, this back Treant. Very close to going down. It looks like a nice position by Starboy to push the Scarf back. They do claim it, and now Delphi's just going to keep poking here. Already level 2, he is able to do a ton of damage, and I've heard a lot of players talk about when Samuel hits level 2, he's very, very hard to deal with, especially if you're on your back foot, if you're disengaging, because he can continue to lay out that Malice and Verdict. And so it's forcing the entire team to go up to the lane to try to share some of this XP.
And what I was really concerned about right there is one thing you don't want to do against a Samuel. We saw the Vox rotate down behind him, but then group up with his team, which allowed Delphi to get a large amount of damage down with the splash.
Oh my goodness, Truth leaves the Treant. He's allowing Delphi to heal up here. Now it's going to be Saints that's going to be going down, and what was looking like a kind of careless play by Nova has turned right around and caught the side of Team Saints a little bit too far forward. You know, that was such an incredible play to hold that Treant for Truth there, man. It definitely saved the day.
It definitely did, and then Delphi was able to get that mid camp too, which is going to put a little more gold in his pocket. He's going to recall, though, because he's low on health, low on energy, doesn't want to risk giving it up. But in the end, they trade 3 for 1, so pretty good pickup there by Nova Esports.
Yeah, not a bad trade at all. And looking to continue to push forward. It really started with a very far forward engage by Starboy. Starboy was way out of position, and giving up that kill wasn't needed, but his team man stepping up and kind of coming in clutch for the rest of the team. Definitely commendable.
I almost think Starboy dying there might have been the best thing to happen. You could say that he, didn't need to die, but at the same time, him dying is what caused them to continue to follow up on Delphi, and they were able to clean up that 3-man kill there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely helped push the momentum. It kind of caused Saints to be a little over aggressive. And look at this, they do catch Delphi out. He's got that healer though, and this is something that you see too often is when you get the healer for at least a few seconds, there's not much you can do. He pulls out the Malice and Verdicts again as he goes to the Drifting Darkness. Larry is almost dropped here as Delphi just tries to dodge out some of this damage here. He's not going to get out of here. It's just too much. Even with the Adagio heal, he's not going to be able to survive, and it is going to be Truth and Starboy, though, showing up. And the Gwen, he's going off. Finds Saints. Almost gets the kill. Gets the kill. It's going to take a little bit of damage from... Wow, actually, oddly enough, the Crystal Miner stopped attacking Truth. And Truth's just out of range, not able to get the Lyra. It is going to be a pretty close match. Oh, Truth gets caught. There's a Spitfire. There's a kill. And Nova being over-aggressive here again. Sometimes it's just too risky to be pushing and trying to look for kills when you need to be focusing on farm for this early part of the game.
Yeah, and we definitely see them, they're trying to get some of that really heavy early aggression down. Truth's already picked up that Tension Bow, and Delphi's already picked up that Frostburn, which is going to help Truth be in range of all this extra damage that he has on that upfront burst.
Absolutely. So it's something that I think that they thought they could get in there when Truth rotated down and he would get both kills on the Lyra. Overextended, took too much damage from both the Crystal Treant. From both the Crystal Miner and the turret in order to try to make that happen, and ultimately came back and bit him in the butt. But here, moving back up in here, trying to push this wave right into the turret. And yeah, with this composition and the poke damage, you definitely can see how once they get in front of this turret, they're going to be able to burst it down slow, very quickly. The Samuel will be able to poke it down, and the Gwen, once, now that he has the tension bow as well, should do a lot of damage to these objectives here.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out is we do have a little bit of a late fountain here coming out of Nova Esports, but we have no fountain coming out of the Lyra. Lyra prioritized the Crucible, which, yes, does help her Sigil heal more, but is it really the team-wide heal that you're going to need against this AoE of the Samuel?
Yeah, and I mean, I agree eventually a Crucible would be needed. It's a little early, as a lot of that AoE, the stun level 6 coming out of the Gwen, although Gwen is level 6 now, and then of course level 6 from the Adagio, not quite there, needed to prioritize that Crucible first, but the Crucible does offer some of that sustain. There is the Mist Ace high, as they're still doing so much damage. Truth's very low, he's going to drop. It's actually Team Saints, they're turning this around, but here comes Lil Delphi. He's going to find the kill, gets the poke, and now he's going to turn his attention onto Larry here. Can the Lyra get away? They're slowed down quite a bit, and he's going to continue to put in the damage. Delphi finishes and gets the ace, and just like this, turret number 1's going to go down.
This is exactly what we were talking about earlier, where Delphi is going to be the star player for Nova Esports. He's showed us that, he is a very aggressive, very strong jungler, and he is here to prove it. He's joining on to Nova Esports, who is, in the VG8, taking the spot of, I believe it was the Mortals. I definitely think the aggression from Nova is going to be a lot more of his play style, and I think they're going to be a team to watch coming up here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they're definitely performing really well so far. Take a look real quickly at just how these two teams are progressing, though. The Scarf does have that Shatterglass. We've seen Raymond just focus on it, and you can see how it does pay off, because when he does catch out one of the members of Nova, he's able to lay a lot of damage in. But look at this from the opposite side. It's Gwen and it's Samuel, and look how they're just bursting down the side of Team Saints. The Oblivion's going to come out to redirect Larry, but Larry has nowhere to go, and he's dropped, and that's another ace for Nova. 2 aces so far, and another turret is likely to drop here.
That was such a beautiful distraction by Starboy there. We saw Saints was definitely trying to get this lane pushed out, and Starboy was on his side of the map, kind of baiting it out and showing, where are we? And then Truth and Delphi came up underneath on the enemy side of the jungle, and were able to get that AoE down and clean out that fight really quick.
Yeah, and so 2 turrets down by 8 minutes. Nova definitely looking stronger this match than we saw from that last match. And, you have to imagine just the roles that these players are playing to their strength. It's, no goofing around here. They have come out to show what they are made of, what they are going to be able to bring for the rest of the season. So far anyways, and now with that cleared, that lane pushed up, they're going to be able to prioritize the rest of this jungle, possibly look to start pushing down this gold mine. With the side of Saints coming up, I don't think they're really going to go for this gold mine. They're going to look for another fight, get 1, maybe 2 of the enemies down, if not an ace, and then probably go for a turret in gold mine with a split push. Yeah, they do focus on just getting the Trian and then shopping before gold mine, so gonna allow this to stay, but instead they decide to rotate down and try to secure the gold mine here. They do not know there's a scout trap giving vision, but it's not gonna matter. Team Saints, they have no answer for the amount of damage coming out of Nova right now. And Larry almost goes down. Wait, he gets re-engaged on again. Can he escape? He does. Vox is actually...
He does escape, but Scarf is gonna get caught out here.
Scarf has to rotate down to his Crystal Miner and does avoid being eliminated here because, rightly so, Nova respecting that Crystal Miner, and Delphi is a little bit low. Oh, that's a lot of damage being chunked out of Delphi right there. This Scarf is still hurting even though they're so far behind.
Yeah, definitely. Scarf is definitely one of the heroes that has a lot of... Wow! Perfect ult there from Starboy, able to clean up both kills with Delphi there.
Starboy infused was able to do a ton of damage. Also, they're so far ahead in levels. Look at that. I mean, Starboy's level 7 to the level 6 of Nasty, and Saints is the same level as Starboy, and of course Truth and Delphi are both level 9. So they're not running into any issues at all here. There's just no roadblocks as they look to position for a surprise fight here. if Team Saints rotates right past this objective. Oh, here comes Scarf. Oh, man, not what Scarf wanted to do. That was exactly what Nova wanted, and they were able to get that kill. Fallon comes out just to make sure they've got enough staying power here to likely take down this turret.
Well, I don't think they're going to push the turret. They're going to go ahead and clear out this jungle. They know they already have the sentry down. They're going to get a chance to shop here and try to make another big push here in just a couple minutes.
Yeah,
we see a lot of damage coming out from this this Gwen with the burst and how far ahead they are. Saints is only level 8 and Gwen's already level 10. So we've got a second point in the ult, which is going to bring the cooldown. It's not looking good for Team Saints right now.
Truth finds Saints, catches him out. Well, look how fast he goes. Saints got 3 tier 3 items. He's just going to outmatch him every single step of the way. Larry does go through, but oh my goodness, Truth taking the portal right through on the other side of the wall. He's actually going to stay and farm over here as his team finishes up the ace. And with this is going to be the last lane turret going down. Truth doesn't even consider leaving using the portal. He's willing to stay here and help his team finish off this turret. Saints has nothing left in the tank. Wait for it comes out, but it does nothing. And it's going to be just trying to find ways to stall this game on the side of Saints.
Yeah, Truth made a really good choice there to take the portal in and clean up that kill. Oh my goodness, the damage on that Scarf.
Oh, they're just so far ahead. Hey, there's just nothing. When you've got that many items.
Yeah, Truth. Like I said, I find Truth to be just the most comfortable in lane, and he's really showing it right now.
And with that, the last turret is going to fall. And ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be GG. Nova Esports, they secure the 2-0 victory, taking down Team Saints. And showing everybody that they have come to do business here on the full.
It was a pretty it felt like a pretty one-sided match, and they're definitely going to close it out sub 15 minutes. No need for Kraken.
Yeah, completely different than what we saw in Game 1. In Game 1, they looked a little shaky. They looked like, playing on these different positions that maybe they weren't used to over the last few months. Maybe was kind of a little bit of a troll decision, not playing at their fullest. And Saints almost made them pay for it. Team Saints almost came in, took a game from them. But like that, when they come in and play the positions that they are kind of teasing us that they're going to be probably playing for the rest of the season, next season even, definitely showing everybody how absolutely dominating and strong they can be. So, man, 2-0. That was a very clean 2-0.
And I definitely think that's the performance I want to see out of them when it comes to the VG8 also. This is the lineup we wanted to see. They came in strong. They played incredibly well. It appeared to have pretty good synergy together, despite it being a new addition to the roster. And, I think they have a strong contendency here in the VG8.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, this is going to be the team to kind of keep an eye on how they play at that level. I mean, this game maybe doesn't represent quite to that extent how strong those teams will be at the VG8's competitive side. But what I will tell you is as we go through this tournament, by next week, Nova is going to be facing off against future VG8 contenders. And so we will be able to see for the first time how they're going to perform. It's going to be an exciting one. For sure. I mean, I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, definitely. So, they're going to be a team to watch. We have a bunch of new teams in the VG8 here, and I think by far this is one of my favorite ones with this Nova roster.
Well, everybody, we have no more games to play as all the matches have concluded. Just waiting for words to officially see the results here on our bracket, but early results do show Cloud9 winning over Best Anime Girls. I don't think there was a surprise there, Day, on that one. That was kind of how we expected that to go, as a 1 seed going up against the 2nd seed. And I'm looking at the bracket, and actually NRG did drop a game to Intensity VG. So NRG does move on to the next round, but they do not go unscathed.
I definitely would have liked to have seen those games. I definitely think those two rosters, with NRG picking up this new roster, I think those would have been awesome games to watch. That's something we're just going to have to see for another day.
Unfortunately, That is true. What does mean, though, is that Nova Esports will be actually playing into NRG next week. So we're going to actually see how that new NRG roster going up against Nova is going to do. And, you know, NRG was previously Giraffes, did lose out to, it was formerly Rage Pingers. So, you know, at this point, Nova definitely, you know, looking to be one of those stronger teams. But NRG is a VGA team now, you know, because they picked up that roster that qualified for VG8. NRG and Nova are going to be our first real head-to-head Vainglory 8 competition that we're going to see play out here on VISPRO. But that is the end of our stream, everybody. Unfortunately, we don't have a third match just because of schedule conflicts. We will be having more games for you, of course, tomorrow. And actually, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about tomorrow. It is going to be a jam-packed one real quick. So here is the schedule. We are starting right off the bat with Team Solo Mid against Infinity Rebirth. And Team Solo Mid's number 2 seed here, coming off of the live championship. Cloud9 does get that first seed, but Team Solo Mid, arguably, you know, very, very close in skill to Cloud9, so this is like going into another 1 seed. Infinity Rebirth has their work cut out for them, and then following up that exciting matchup, it will be Immortals versus Gods, which is actually the former NRG roster that's still in Challengers. Then Tempo Storm is going to be playing Go Ruthless, which is an exciting new team rising up here in the VISPRO. And we're definitely excited. Off stream, it will be Los Baboons, another VG8 competitor going up against Lost in the Echo. And you know, we don't know a lot about this Lost in the Echo team. There's a few pieces from different teams from Challengers in past that have kind of come together on this team. So a lot of interesting questions surrounding the future of this team and how it's going to all play out. Well, man, Day, thanks for coming in. This is like your first real casting experience here on the fold, right? Well, I might have lost Denomine, but it was a pleasure to have him as we look to kind of wrap up this stream. It's been a fantastic night. Thanks everybody for coming out and watching. It's been a really intense series of matches that have been playing out, and of course, you know, to see Necrolite taking 2 over Misfits and Nova coming in here strong is definitely a good sign for the competitive teams making it into the VG8. With that, though, I'm going to say good night, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next round of matches for the round of 16. Good night, everybody.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.